What's going on, guys? I'm Steve. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another video. If it's your first time stopping by the channel, hit that subscribe button. Trust me, you won't regret it. You're a returning subscriber as always, guys. Welcome back, and I do appreciate your support. Well, guys, the 5 officers that were responsible for the beating death of Tyre Nichols will be in court next week. And I'll be covering that as usual. But I wanted to see something, I wanted to say something and show you guys something that it wasn't a surprise to me. I called this a long time ago. If you've been paying attention when I've been doing these Tyre Nichols videos in this series, I've made some predictions from my experience in the world of incarceration and how they play games when they want to get witnesses to go against others, and when they want to close the case up, and not take it to court. And what I'm talking about today is something that I predicted, and to some people, surprised, but to me, yeah. And what it is this. Preston Hemphills, which is the white officer that was involved in the bidding somewhat with Tyre Nichols, has had his decertification postponed, like Tre'Tarius Bean has had his postponed. Now, yesterday, the Post Commission, which stands for Police Officers Standards and Training, has agreed to suspend his decertification. So he's still an officer as of now. It's just his status is frozen, like Tre'Tarius Bean's status is frozen. I'm gonna play this video clip to give you guys a quick overview of what happened yesterday. We'll come back and talk about a little bit of what I think is going to happen next week.
And new information, the Tennessee Peace Officer Standards and Training Commission, known as POST, holding off on a decision whether to decertify a former Memphis police officer who was fired after the death of Tyre Nichols. Now, early January, Nichols was beaten after a traffic stop in Hickory Hill. He died 3 days later. Preston Hemphills was seen on video at the initial traffic stop, and then MPD fired him for violating department policy. At a hearing this afternoon, Post said Preston Hemphills' certification is suspended until all investigations are completed, including one by the DOJ. Now, once those are finished, he can return for another hearing. Hemphills is not charged in Nichols' death. Last month, Post decided to hold off on the decertification for former officer Tre'Tarius Bean. He is one of the 5 former officers charged in Nichols' death. Post decertified the other 4 officers back in March. All 5 officers are due in court next week.
Guys, that was the news, and as brief as it was, that's what they're talking about. Now, I'm going to tell you something. What this is, basically, I'm going to go from Preston Hemphills' perspective, which is the prosecution, and I'm going to talk about the 5 officers, which is the defense, okay? Now, on the prosecution side, they did this. This was a must. They had to do this. And I'm going to tell you why. It's a character cleansing process for Preston Hemphills. You understand what I'm saying? If he takes the stand, because remember, they're already trying to repair his character with the public saying some okey doke stuff. Oh, he was there, but he really didn't do anything to cause Tyre Nichols to run away. We're not going to get in that in this video, but you guys see my other videos, Then he says, well, he did say he said he hoped they stomp his ass. But I mean, he was saying it out of frustration because he couldn't catch him. All this other stuff is trying to clean his character up. Now, the city has been somewhat silent, and the people have been sitting back and watching and waiting to see what's going to happen. But you knew he was going to get this situation where he doesn't really get decertified. Remember, he's turned state's evidence. He's going to work on the side of the prosecution against these 5 idiots, which he was a part of that group, a part of that unit. Scorpion unit, he was the white scorpion. He was a part of the unit. Now, with that being said, with him, them cleaning his character up, trying to make him look more appealing and more credible to the public, right? Despite the video, they're also going to take, in case he gets on the stand and he's cross-examining stuff, if they bring up Tre'Tarius Bean, No, in fact, I'll stop that. I'll stop that. It's just a character cleaning process with him. Another thing is, let me say this. If you did the background of Preston Hemphills, before Preston Hemphills was a police officer, and I told you this before, don't be surprised if he's a cop again, or he asked for his job back. Remember he had that, they got that $500 million lawsuit, CJ Davis, his name, and all that stuff. He agreed to testify because he don't want that lawsuit, right? He can't bear that. The reason why he can't bear that is because he wasn't really successful before he became a police officer. If you do the background, like I was saying, on Preston Hemphills, he was in college. He was still trying to find himself, couldn't fit in nowhere. You know how normal kids are. You know, like when we young guys, 9 to 5s ain't working. We're trying to go to school. It's a headache. We're trying to find something where we can, get a career. He chose law enforcement. He made a lot of mistakes in law enforcement. He's a blundering cop, but he found a home. He's been sitting home. Think about it. All these guys have been sitting home. They got to worry about their life is hanging in the balance. Him, he just trying to get back on top. Just get back. He probably was making real good money. He ain't making that money no more. Probably having a hard time finding a job because everybody knows who he is. So he might want to come back. And that's what I think it is. He's having a hard time out there with employment and just being known and stuff like that. I'm sure people calling him a snitch and all kind of stuff, giving him all kind of hell when he go places. But I mean, he trying to protect himself. And that's that side. That's why they did this with this thing with him being they suspended. Well, it's up in the air whether we want to give him the job back or not, because he has been fully cooperative. Now let's go to the defense. Now you got the defense team, right? These dudes are going to go to jail regardless. The time between, because you guys have been asking me, the time between when they got their discoveries and their lawyers came and they weren't present and all that stuff, and they were going to plead guilty or not guilty, and they did the plea. That was the last time they was in court. Now they go to court next week. When they said, oh, we're going to go to trial, this is when the first deal comes. Remember I said you usually get 3 to 4 deals, right? You get 3 deals, and then right up until trial, you get that last minute deal where they don't want to go to trial because they don't want to pay these taxpayer dollars and all this other stuff and all this money for trial. This is the first stage of that. Now, between that time they came, they pled guilty. Now they come with a deal. The prosecution will come with a deal. Okay, first deal, such and such. You'll get 20, 30 years. Whoever denied the deal will say no. They'll wait for the next deal, or they'll just say, it's a standoff. We're going to trial. We don't care. We're going to fight for our rights. We didn't do anything wrong. We did what we were instructed to do as police officers, which puts stress on the mayor and the city. See, another thing, city don't want this to go to trial, of course. When they get on the stand, they're going to talk. CJ Davis don't want them to get on trial because she's the one that orchestrated and built this thing that they was a part of that took this guy Tyree Nichols' life. So a lot of stuff, a lot of people are uneasy and don't want them to go to trial. But this is the dilemma the city has. They don't want them to go to trial, but they want justice enough to where the city says that's fair. Can't have them both. You can't have them both. You can't. 30 years, they're not going to take that in a deal. They'll risk the gauntlet, because if you got 30 years, you might as well take life. Honestly, you might as well take life. 30 years for somebody that never been incarcerated, they're going to fight this. The city is going to have to spend a lot of money that they don't have because they got to pay out. They're getting sued with this $500 million lawsuit and whatever else is coming with it. And they already on a budget. This is going to be crazy, guys. This is going to be nuts. We got Hemphills. They like, so what? We got dirt on Hemphills. See, that's part of this cleaning up his character. I wouldn't be surprised if it's more news about Hemphills coming out than these guys. Because the first deal will be dropped. Now, along with the first deal, guys, right? I want you to hear me on this. If somebody takes the deal out of those 5, you'll hear about it. Right after this news or whatever next week, you'll hear about it. You might hear the same day. Hey, somebody pled guilty to such and such. So they'll bow out, do the time, and go right to prison. And they'll never make the trial. And their names will be only on a trial basis, and you'll forget about them. They'll be in a system somewhere. A lot of times they do that. Now, out of all of them, I think the person that will most likely crack is Sedarius Bean. His lawyer, excuse me, he's nervous. He got a nervous type lawyer, and his lawyer, to me, comes off as just arrogant for no reason and just silly when he talks. Now, I heard the man is a good lawyer, but I don't know. His last case is got me scared. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. Guys, all in all, this is the process when you start seeing people starting to plead guilty and take deals, if they take deals at all. You know, there was a big blow up about the evidence presented and who's testifying and who knows what and who, just theatrics between lawyers. Don't get caught up in that. The situation with Sedarius Bean, I want to bring up where he said, hey, I want to still be a cop and I don't want to be decertified right now, as if he knows something or he has something in his defense that differentiates him from the other 4. Now, Hemphills has postponed his thing. I wouldn't be surprised if more people try to postpone their decertifications. These are just tactics. I wouldn't really think into them, but I know why they did that with Preston Hemphills. It's a character cleansing process. But we'll stay tuned. Next week, we'll have another video about this, and we'll see what's going on with it. Now, like I said, if some deals or something come up, next week you'll know. But, as always, like, comment, share, and subscribe. I'll see you guys in the next video. Take care.